Twilio is a global communications platform for developers. With our API and a few lines of code, you can add messaging, voice, and video to your applications in the programming language you already use. Behind Twilio's API is a super network, a software layer that connects and optimizes networks around the world. That way, your users can reliably call and message anyone, anywhere. Now you can build voice and video experiences in software that let your users communicate with context. And you can reach your customers the way they want to be reached, with SMS, push, in-app chat, and messaging apps like Facebook Messenger. Get started right away. There are no contracts, so you only pay for what you use. Get your free API key now at Twilio.com.
So you work for a popular video game streaming platform. Do you want to tell us which one?
No.
So when people like hack the cloud, are you like all like NSA in it? So you're a Python developer. You work with snakes. Have you ever seen the movie Hackers?
Okay, yeah. Actually,
Do you think Assassin's Creed jumped the shark? But do you use your hands to type, or do you do that with your mind too? How many code tattoos do you have? Tabs or spaces? Did you start as a front-end developer and then keep getting promoted, and now you're on the back end? What's up, sheeple? It's me, Spencer, sweet to Jesus, your host, Hacking the Net. Thanks for coming back to the show. We're here to let you know what's really going on in the world of devs. And it's important that you get the information from us. Maybe you get your mind blown. Maybe you learn something. Maybe you walk outside and see the sun for the first time. It's up to you. So strap in. Sponsors today, Twilio. Thank you, Twilio. I appreciate the support. I want to give a shout out to Costco on Main. Thank you for the free samples. I walked in and everybody was like, Spencer, what's up? And they just kept giving me free samples. You made my Monday. Today we have a very special guest. She's DevOps at Twilio. We're going to figure out what DevOps is. Please welcome Dawn de Guzman.
Dom. Right?
Dom?
Dom.
What are you saying?
Did you say Don or Dom?
Did you say Dom?
I said Dom.
I said Dom.
Oh, all right.
You're saying Dawn. I get it.
No, backwards.
Oh, so nod?
No, what?
So, Dom, like, what's DevOps? Like, it sounds like it's almost like Mission Impossible type stuff.
Basically, we will assist engineers with access level controls that are generally kept to 1 to 2 specific teams.
Do you guys have like team competitions? Like, see which team? Like, do you guys have like potato sack races or?
I don't really see a competition on who can grant access level controls faster.
Some people do.
I mean, some people could.
Some people
sure.
do. I mean, people, real coders and stuff. So, like, what got you into like being a dev? Like, I mean, how long have you done it? Like,
I was in college and I had like a random degree that does not land you a job at all.
Philosophy?
No, a study of heteronormativity of mainstream lesbians on television. I didn't really know what job I thought.
Could you say that one more time?
A study of heteronormativity in mainstream lesbian television. Technically from 2001 to 2007.
That's what your degree's in?
Yeah. I went to it.
Is there an acronym for that?
No, I made it up. Like, I had a create your own major thing.
Oh, so you wouldn't just go online?
Just a random story, but like I was actually at a Best Buy and I was talking to somebody about a computer and they offered me a job in Geek Squad.
You were in Geek Squad?
I was in Geek Squad, yeah.
It's just like the coolest, like, it's gotta be like the coolest feeling to just put on that polo. And
with the clip-on tie, right?
Yeah, like you're on a squad. Like, did you guys like fight crime on like after hours?
No.
Like
it was a lot. I
cybercrime.
mean, like, no. It's good.
Yeah, my best friend's on Geek Squad. I'm trying. Like, I keep taking the test, I keep failing.
I don't think they had a test back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Email them about that. Wait, so are you a hacker?
I guess you can say that. I don't know. I think people, when they think of hackers, they think of things like Mr. Robot and protecting from like outside evils, and that's not necessarily what I do.
But I do like Christian Slater.
Well, everybody loves Christian Slater.
Gleaming the Cube. So let me ask you this: like you said, you're kind of a hacker. Have you seen the movie Hackers?
I think so. I think all I remember is like Angelina Jolie was in it. I remember that.
I remember Angelina Jolie. Do you have a petting zoo at your office?
We do not. We do not have a petting zoo.
What's your favorite animal to pet?
That I have pet or I want to pet?
Either.
Well, I really want to pet a red panda.
Oh, that's hard though, huh? Isn't there like 3 of them left?
No, I think they have them at the San Francisco Zoo.
Yeah, that's where one of them is, and then you got to find the other 2. It's a game. You got to catch them all.
Yeah.
When people hack the cloud, are you able to like NSA their location?
I can find out where you were from your last Facebook status of where you checked in and what you ate by all of the information you already put online. It's not a huge jump.
What do you think was the last thing I ate?
Probably something from going with Costco.
You're really good at what you do, because that's dead on. Chicken bake. What do you like to do, like when you're not when you're not at work? Like how does a dev like you just relax? Like what do you do just to hang out?
Honestly, we're probably drinking.
Maybe sometime we'll get a beer. Maybe I'll see you in a beer garden with the other devs.
There's just one around the corner. We can do that.
Yeah, I'll see you. We'll go over there after.
Sure.
What's your extension?
I don't have an extension. It's just Dom at Twilio. It's very easy.
Don at Twilio. Cool. .org?
Calm.
CALM.
I mean, is the shoot paying for the beer or?
We'll talk about it. Dom de Guzman, everybody, DevOps from Twilio. Thank you, Dom, for coming in. We appreciate your time, and we're going to see you in the infrastructure.
My name is Andy Raitano, and I'm a technical evangelist at Microsoft. I'll be speaking about a project that I'd worked on for a few years now. It's a real-time interactive experience. Players can use their mobile phones or devices to interact with real hardware running a real game cartridge. Users can affect gameplay on their mobile phone while the player is trying to speedrun the game or complete the level. And we created a bunch of unique experiences, which weapons the players have, how many lives, the gravity. In Mario, all of a sudden we'll switch to swim mode, but then someone will take it away right when they're just over a pit.
Let's imagine you're on your phone. You pull up the mobile app for your airline because you want to change your flight. You call the airline within the same app, and the agent says, "Hi, I see that you are calling to change your flight," because the agent knows exactly what you're looking at. Both you and the agent are now communicating inside the app. The travel agent looks around, helps you find a new flight, locates one, and pushes a card to the screen and says, "Hey, how about this flight? Is this the one you want?" Awesome. Now, to confirm the change, please use the Touch ID on your phone. Great. I see you've confirmed the flight. You're all set. This is how we see the future of communications. It will be a convenient and efficient in-app experience, not just for airlines, for everyone, using Twilio. We can't wait to see what you build.
My name is Tannoy Bakshi. I am in the 8th grade. I am a software and cognitive developer, as well as an algorithmist, author, YouTuber, and of course, keynote speaker. Really, my talk aims to tell people how artificial intelligence isn't really artificial anymore. Instead, we're using it to augment our own capabilities and make it even more critical in our lives.
is the closing party for Signal, and traditionally has just been a really big geeky party with robots and lasers and loud music and fun stuff. But we knew this year, if we wanted to top last year, we were going to need to up-level experience for everyone, and that's where Nikita and Sam really came in.
I'm Nikita.
And I'm Sam, and we're the team at Twilio behind this year's Bash.
We're standing in front of the famous Unisphere in Queens, New York. We could think of no better place to announce the theme for this year's Bash, the World's Fair for Developers.
They had the big idea to take the core of Bash, the Techie Code Carnival, and make it more of a cultural event, to bring more design and art to the experience so that it would appeal to more people.
At Twilio, we believe that great design always begins with first-hand field research. Now this presented a unique challenge because this year, the concept at Bash is Future World's Fair. Now we spared no expense and invented the world's first time machine, sending our intern on an exploratory mission to the year 2067. We didn't engineer a way to communicate with her or bring her back, but we implemented a strategic pivot and conducted extensive competitive analysis. Back to the Future, all the Star Treks, Tron Legacy, we watched them all. Well, all the trailers. If any of this survives to the year 2067, our intern will be extremely proud.
We're about 30 days away from Bash and Signal. How do you think it's going so far?
The first sign that I had that this team was going to kill it at preparing Bash was just the sheer amount of planning and Google Docs and everything that was coming into my inbox. It was clear that a lot more thought and a lot more testing and scaling of this event is really going into Bash this year. They also threw an entire mini Bash in New York City with developers from the community, and it went really well.
What's New York going to be about?
So in New York, we want to do a mini Bash, like a kind of a microcosm of what you're going to see at the real Bash. We want to invite a bunch of developers from Twilio's community in New York, come in and have some food and drinks and play some games with us.
So far, the one I've gotten to play the most is the Conway's Game of Life. It seems like it's one of the ones that is a little bit more classic. My favorite game was the Apple e-game because the whole point of the game, I guess, is to hack the game.
There's this Mario game that this guy made that you can turn on like random game modes and like switch the color palette of like someone playing Mario via text. Super fun, super awesome.
We had makers, hardware games, code challenges, and we built everything from scratch.
We had a great time building Bash in New York, and we can't wait to see you in May.
It is great to have you all back here today. Wait, show the code. It is great to all have you back at Signal today. We got a lot of stuff today. We've got some more State of the Union on voice and messaging. We've got Mark Benioff coming for a conversation in a few minutes here, and a lot of fun stuff. But first, before we do any of that stuff, we've got something that we do every year. We like to celebrate some of the amazing things that you all have built, that you've been building over the past year, some amazing accomplishments from the developer community of Twilio in something that we like to call the Twilio Hall of Doers. Let's meet our doers of 2017. Our first doer of this year. You know, in tech, we like to talk about breaking down silos and letting people communicate with each other, right? And that is, nowhere is that more important today than in the world of democracy. And this doer stepped outside of their comfort zone to do just that, to connect people in democracy. This doer created an easy and effective way to connect citizens with their elected representatives. Now, if you've ever tried to call Congress to let them know your opinion and what you want them to do, you find that you often get busy signals, or if you get voicemail, the voicemail boxes are full. It's actually hard to talk to our representatives. And so this doer figured out a way to fix that. They created an app that lets you text a message in, and they sent that to Congress as a fax. And if tackling the problem of connecting citizens to their elected officials wasn't hard enough, wasn't a big enough challenge, this doer actually figured out also how to get Americans excited about sending faxes. Since the launch of ResistBot just a few months ago, ResistBot has powered over 1 million faxes from citizens to their elected officials so that their voices get heard. This doer and a group of talented volunteers that he mobilized built ResistBot in breakneck pace and got it out for citizens of the United States to talk to their elected officials. Let's hear it for the team that created ResistBot and the creator, our doer, our first doer of this year, Eric Reese. ResistBot was this idea to get faxes out to Congress. What an amazing idea. And by the way, Eric was very hesitant to take credit for it. It was his idea, but he mobilized an awesome team. I think almost 100 volunteers participated in building ResistBot. So it was an amazing, amazing community effort. Now, our next doer of 2017 also embarked on something amazing this year. I don't know if you know this or not, but 45 million Americans rely on food stamps. And in order to get access to that program, they often have to fight tremendous bureaucracy and logistics to sign up and even to figure out if they're eligible for social service programs that they desperately need. And our next doer is an entrepreneur. And when she saw fellow Chicagoans struggling to use public access programs like food stamps or welfare, she sought to create a solution. Now, what sounds like a simple trip to City Hall in order to sign up for the program is actually a lot more complicated. First of all, you have a questionnaire with like 100 questions you have to fill out. But oftentimes people have to go and spend an entire day, take a day off of work, go to City Hall, wait in a very long line, fill out this questionnaire just to find out you're ineligible for the programs you're trying to sign up for. So she built a service via text message that allows you to get the answers about whether or not you are eligible, and to do so just from your phone before you take that day off of work and before you go wait in that line. It's a new interface to civic social services that is more convenient and helps people get the services that they need. M-Relief has helped thousands of people to connect with social services in a more advanced way. We have a backup for everything. mRelief has given thousands of people access to social services over this new medium of text messaging. And they've since expanded from Chicago and Illinois to states all around the country to help get people everywhere connection to the services they needed. Let's hear it for our second doer of 2017 who created mRelief, Rose Effrier. I think it's a little off. You know, we bought all the thermal fax machines. I think it still exists in the world. All right, our third doer of 2017. You know, we have this saying at Twilio, draw the owl. It's one of our values. What it means is there's no tutorial for what we need to get done. There's no map telling us exactly where we have to go. We have to figure it out. It's just you and your ingenuity trying to figure out how to solve a problem. And our next doer certainly drew the owl with this one and has saved thousands of lives in the process. See, in Cambodia, children without birth certificates are more likely to fall prey to human trafficking. And without a birth certificate, it's also much harder to get access to things like basic health and human services. Such a simple thing, a birth certificate, a piece of paper that can have such a tragic impact on somebody's life. And it's a tragic reality that our next doer wanted to change. He created an IVR, a phone line, that allowed UNICEF to talk to health offices health offices in Cambodia to ask a simple question. Do you have enough birth certificates on hand for the incoming patients that you expect? And if the answer is no, they get more birth certificates in the hand of those local health offices. It's such a simple thing that makes such a huge difference. And opening up that line of communications with those health offices saves children from avoidable and unimaginable risk by getting just a birth certificate. Let's hear it for our third doer of Let's hear it for our third doer of 2017, Nelson Rodriguez from UNICEF. Oh wait, I think yeah, that looks about right. Nelson Rodriguez from UNICEF. All right, our fourth doer of 2017. Now, how many episodes of the Today Show do you think have aired? The answer is over 16,000 episodes of the Today Show have aired. That's thousands of hours of live TV that they're producing constantly. And shipping a TV show like that day in and day out is an incredible feat, let alone making it interesting to viewers. Making every episode interesting is an incredible feat. And our next doer has actually built countless Twilio apps to entertain the Today Show audience. From texting your deepest political beliefs to the anonymous election confessions hotline, to allowing Today Show viewers to connect with celebrity fitness coaches to get workout advice live on air. This doer has been creating apps that have been entertaining America for several years. In fact, one of his most recent ones, he built an app that actually decides which of the Today Show hosts, Kathy Lee or Hoda, wins an argument. So when they get in an argument on air, his new app helps them solve that argument. It's called the Wine Bot. And here's how it works. It allows viewers to text or tweet in whose argument they think is better. And for every text or tweet that they receive, it drops one drop of wine into one of the host's wine glasses. And whoever's glass fills up first wins the argument. Yes, it's a data visualization tool using Twilio and alcohol that runs live on air. In fact, he built this live in a breakout session yesterday here at Signal. So for our next doer of 2017, let's hear it from the Today Show, Andrew Pinsler. Most of Andrew Pinsler. Literally, this is the only model of thermal fax machine still in production, and they barely work. All right, and our next doer that we're about to meet has built something amazing as well. See, for many of us, getting to the doctor is an annoyance. You have to make an appointment, you have to remember to schedule it, you got to take some time off work, go to the doctor. And that's when the doctor is just right around the corner in the same city where you live. Let alone for people who live in rural areas, where the doctor may be very far away in some remote city, and you have to actually drive to get there and take a day or two off of work in order to make a simple doctor visit, especially if that doctor is a specialist you need to travel to go see. And this doer wanted to solve that problem. See, she built a video platform that lets patients see their doctor from the comfort of their own home. And it's powered by Twilio Video. And see, a patient who wants to see a doctor, especially a specialist who may be far away, it takes just a few minutes. Load up the app, talk to the doctor. There's no traveling. You can imagine how easy this is. And now, Doctors on Demand is live in all 50 states. And patients in all 50 states have the ability to access the care they need from the comfort of their own home. And it would have been possible if this doer hadn't started solving this problem and building the awesome app, Doctors on Demand. Let's hear it for our fifth doer today, Jacinda Shelley. So there we are. Please give it up one more time for our 2017 Doers. And let's get these stupid fax machines off the stage. All right. We wanted to have some fun with our new programmable fax product. So, as many of you may know, social responsibility and social action have actually been a very important part as we've been building Twilio. Early on in Twilio, we saw so many things that developers and doers in our ecosystem, in our community, were coming up with to help build a better world, to solve social problems based on the technology of communication. Because we find that oftentimes the cause of or the solution to many of society's problems are communications. And you all have been figuring out amazing ways to use communications to solve a wide variety of problems. And that's why early on at Twilio, we started Twilio.org to help fuel those communications and fuel those apps, to partner with those of you who are trying to change the world with better communications. We also took the 1% pledge and committed 1% of Twilio's equity to sustainably fund Twilio.org for 10 years. And so to learn more about what Twilio is doing in the realm of social responsibility, please welcome up the Vice President of Social Impact and the General Manager of Twilio.org, Aaron Riley. Aaron, come on up.
Hello, I'm really excited to talk with you all. But first, I want you to hear from an organization that is creating a global movement for good. Let's hear a little bit about what DoSomething.org is up to.
Do Something's mission is all about getting young people to take social action and make an impact in their own communities. Homelessness, the environment, bullying, we want to give them a way that they can take action and ultimately transform them into being a socially aware and more socially conscious generation.
Using SMS has allowed us to be right in our young people's pockets and allowed us to show the immediacy or urgency of an issue.
Today, we're texting with over 3.5 million young people. Every text message that goes out comes from me, hey, it's Freddie, to create some authenticity, to create that personal relationship.
Our whole mission is to activate young people to fix the world.
And today we have the CEO of DoSomething.org, Arya, here to talk with you.
Hello, I am Arya and I'm here to talk about creating empathy at scale. As you heard, DoSomething.org is the largest tech platform focused exclusively on young people and social change. We have about 5.5 million members here in the US and also in 131 countries around the globe. Young people everywhere want to take action. And the way that we do that is through our campaigns. We have 275 campaigns live on our website about any cause you can imagine. Global poverty, global warming, discrimination, you name it, we have a campaign with a simple call to action that motivates tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of young people to get involved. And when we say young people, my official title is Chief Old Person, by the way, because young people are aged 13 to 25. Sorry, folks. And the reason why we focus on young people is if you become civically engaged or create a habit of political participation and civic engagement when you're 15, 16, 17, you will have that commitment to social impact for your whole life. And of course, as you heard, we think the best way to reach young people is on their phones. We've been texting with young people through Mobile Commons for years, and now we text with young people through Mobile Commons and Twilio because we want that flexibility. We know that right now young people text with their parents, their friends, and do something, but tomorrow it's going to be Facebook Messenger or the next app, and so we want to make sure to message them wherever they are. And so we have such a good expertise in messaging young people for social change that we created a strategy consultancy within Do Something called TMI. And we actually work with other nonprofits to get them to activate young people through SMS. We work with amazing nonprofits, the United Way, the Malala Fund. We worked with the College Board to reach millions of low-income young people via SMS so they could get the financial literacy they needed to go to college. And the best thing about TMI is that 100% of the profits go back to fuel Do Something and the social change that we make. So back to messaging those young people. This is Freddie, who you saw in the video. This was 2 years ago, when Freddie went by his birth name, Alicia. Alicia was texting with our young people every other Tuesday, and they knew Alicia, and they loved Alicia. They would always ask to hang out with Alicia. And then Alicia came to the leadership of Do Something and said, "Hey, I'm coming out as trans." And we said, "Great, that's amazing. We're so excited that you're coming out as trans. You know, do your best self." But you know what? We also said, Do Something's membership, they're more likely to go to church on Sunday than the average young person. And we have corporate sponsors and conservative folks. Like, what are we going to do? And we knew that we just needed to be transparent and authentic. So we knew that we were ready for Freddie. So let's give it up for Freddie Bologna.
So I want to take us back a couple years to April 2015, when 17 million people tuned in to watch Caitlyn Jenner come out to Diane Sawyer and the world as a transgender woman. For an older generation, this one interview held enormous cultural significance. For many, this was the first time they realized someone they knew was trans. But think about a 14-year-old, would have been born in 2001. That television interview wouldn't have as much of an impact on them. Most of Gen Z is 2.5 times more likely to watch YouTube than traditional television. And at Do Something, we want to meet young people where they are, and that's their phones. So 2 months after Caitlyn's interview, I decided to use a text message to come out as trans to 2.5 million young people that I had been texting with for almost 3 years. This is the text that I sent. Every text I had sent before this, which is now called the Ready for Freddie text, had been signed off with the name I was assigned at birth. And that was just one of the best practices we had established to be true to the texting platform. After all, texting is about having conversations. And Gen Z's primary form of communication with their friends and family is through text. And we didn't want to be just a brand in their phones, but a friend. So all of the texts I had sent before this, in order to get young people to take action offline and make an impact in their communities, I'd add personal details about myself. Like, I'm from New Jersey. I have a large Italian family. We make tomato sauce every summer. And I absolutely hate Tom Brady. And this authenticity is what helped young people not just interact with our messaging, but make them really feel like they know me. Every day I get back text messages like, Happy Thanksgiving, I hope you're doing well today, or I just wanted to say thanks for this text message. So why was this one text so important? Not just for me, but for the millions of young people who received it. In 2013, the Human Rights Campaign did a study that showed only 8% of people personally knew someone who was trans. In 2016, 35% of people said they personally knew someone. And we know this is so important because when you know someone who's trans, you're much more likely to have positive attitudes about transgender people and support important laws and protections for trans people. And that's so critical right now when we've been seeing an unprecedented amount of anti-transgender bills popping up around the country. And like I said before, we want to meet people where they are. And when you're texting 2 million people, people are going to be at a different level of understanding. So with the Ready for Freddie text, we wanted to give people options. They could either ask me more so they could learn, they could support me through music, or simply do nothing at all. In 8 hours of sending that text, we received over 45,000 questions and responses with things like, how did you know? How is it like coming out to your family? Or, I'm also trans. Do you have any advice? This text was a practice in building empathy at scale. We gave our members a place to ask questions that they might not feel comfortable asking in a public forum, and we gave them an opportunity to learn about someone who might be different than them. We also created a movement of support. We used the text to push cross-platform to places like Twitter and Spotify. People shared their favorite celebration songs, and we put it on a Spotify playlist called Ready for Freddie. By going cross-platform, we were able to expand the reach of this text to millions more people. So what's next? I'm really excited about what lies ahead. Today, I'm texting with over 3.5 million young people as Freddie. And think about all the tough issues that we can address. This isn't about just talking about trans rights. This is about having conversations with our audience and bringing people closer together. So this is my ask of you. We need the world's most talented people working to solve the world's hardest problems. So if you're looking to create those solutions that will have an impact today, but also an everlasting impact tomorrow, we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
I think what's really powerful about that story is that Do Something is really using SMS as a personal and natural way for people to connect and come together around things that are close to their heart and core to who they are as people. And we want more organizations to have access to the communications that change lives like this. In fact, the mission of Twilio.org is to fuel communications that give hope, power, and freedom. And each individual change matters. For instance, when a child is injured in a traffic accident on a rural road in the Dominican Republic, Trek Medics is there because they have built a 911 emergency response system entirely on Twilio SMS. Or when a woman is at risk for cervical cancer, she can be diagnosed and treated because Care Message is providing voice and text reminders around screenings and treatments. Lives are changing one at a time, but with the help of Twilio's platform, organizations are doing this at a massive scale. At the scale of 300 million messages for good. This is the number of messages social impact organizations have sent through Twilio. That is triple the impact in the last year alone. But I think we can do a lot more to help these organizations. And that's why I am so excited to announce today the Twilio.org Impact Fund. This is going to provide grants to nonprofits and investments in social enterprises. And this is tied to our Pledge 1% commitment, where we are providing our platform, our volunteer time, as well as 1% of our equity to help fund social impact. And now I can let you know about the first $1 million that are going to these 8 nonprofits. So now, thanks. So now, Trek medics will be able to save more lives by bringing that 911 emergency response system to 50 more countries around the world. Or, Care Message will have more funding to be able to help 2 million more patients from underserved communities live healthier, more vibrant lives. Or yesterday, you heard from LaFawn that we are working with Yes We Code and Lesbians Who Tech. Now, these 2 organizations will have more funding to help 100 more people become developers. And this is important because developers are at the core of all of this positive impact we've been talking about. Last year, when I was here at Signal, I invited all of you to use your skills to code a better world. Hundreds of you responded, and many of you were selected to work on projects. And with your help, we launched 5 projects, including one to help the International Rescue Committee help refugees get asylum. In the last year, we also hired a lead technical engineer in Twilio.org to help build out this program to engage more developers in doing good. He is likely a familiar face because he's been a Twilio developer evangelist for the last 4 years. So I want to invite on stage Kevin Winnery to talk a little bit more about this program.
Riley, good morning. What's up? Thank you very much.
Good to have you.
Yeah, very glad to be here.
So, Kevin, you have talked to me about why it is you do what you do, but I want you to share that with the rest of the folks here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think like a lot of developers lately, I've been trying to think more intentionally about how I can use some of the technical skills I've picked up over the years to do some good. And like, I can't cure people that are sick. I can't write a huge check, but I can write a little bit of code. So I'm going to do everything that I can and help the developers in here do everything that they can to help organizations like Do Something, like Trek Medics and Care Message, do what they do even better.
And you know, we've heard that from a lot of developers, and that's why we launched the alpha of the Twilio.org developer community last year. So in that alpha in the last year, we have been learning a lot of lessons. And one thing that we learned is that when we really focus on something more timely and specific, something that people are fired up about in the moment, we get more engagement. So think of the last several months. There has been a big upswell in people who want to express their views to elected officials. We see it definitely in the United States, but also around the world, in France and the UK and in a lot of other areas. And at the same time people are wanting to express their views to elected officials, the current systems and processes are broken. They're not working. Busy signals, full mailboxes. People don't even know when votes are happening. And at that same time, when there's these problems that are really clear in our systems, we heard from developers that you all want to use your skills to fill those gaps, create solutions to help. And so, with all of that input, it prompted us to launch the Voices for Democracy initiative. This is really focused on strengthening our representative democracy by giving more people a voice to those elected officials, and those elected officials to act according to those voices. And we set out a pretty big goal of powering 100 million messages for good.
That's a big number. That's a lot of messages, a lot of notifications, and you know, Aaron and I are probably not going to be able to do that by ourselves. Although I do have to say, I think Aaron has the makings of a very fine JavaScript developer from what I've seen so far.
Python.
So you're just gonna like tear my heart right out of my chest and like squish it right in front. Python is fine. Beautiful language with significant white space. But It's great, and that we're not here to bike shed about programming languages. We're here to try to bring folks together to get something done. And we've been working with organizations all over the world that are working on bringing more people into representative democracy. But there's one project that everybody here at Signal can help out with that we think is going to have a major impact. We're teaming up with our friends at the Open Media Foundation to work on something we're calling the Open Data Notifications Project. And basically what we want to do is create an SMS-based system where people can text in and register to receive notifications when legislation they care about is coming up for a vote in their state and local government. It's a tool that I certainly wish I had. There was a piece of legislation that I was tracking in the Minnesota State House that was going to affect 40,000 women in Minnesota, drastically reducing some of the healthcare benefits they were going to get. And it came up for a critical vote, and I only learned about it after I could actually make an impact on the decision.
That's why I like this project, is I know what issues I care about, but I have no idea when those issues are coming up for a vote. And now this app can tell me so that then I can call my representative at the exact moment when my opinion will matter the most.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to remember government doesn't happen once every 4 years. There are critical decisions that happen every single day in state and local government. Where your voice can really make a difference. And you can, when you act locally, you have the capacity for even greater impact than you might have on an issue that you're working on nationally or globally.
What can people do today?
Funny you should ask what people can do today to help. Because actually, if you would be so kind as to pull out your phones, if you're playing Candy Crush, just dismiss that real quick. Send a text message to this number that you see behind me with the text "do good," and you'll actually receive some information on how you can help with this project and also on lots of other projects that we're going to be doing throughout the year and going forward for really cool nonprofits that are working through Twilio.org. So I'm going to be hacking on this project in the Hack Pack area. You can find me or Brian from Open Media. We'd love to help you get started and cover some of the greenfield we have on this project.
And how close are we lately to this?
We're sitting in a room full of 2,000 of the best developers on the face of the planet. So I think we can get something done today if we work together.
Awesome. So there you have it. We have a room full of people with the exact technical skills to launch an app that will help more people get engaged in local and state government right at the moment when it matters the most, and also get engaged with the projects that we have ongoing throughout the year. So text that number, and we cannot wait to see how you code a better world. And now I'd like to invite Chaitan up on stage to tell us more about where we are going with wireless.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chaitan Chowdhury, and I head up our IoT business unit here at Twilio. I just rode in on a connected bike, and I'm here to tell you a little about what we're doing. Last year, we announced a new product called Programmable Wireless. Programmable Wireless is 4 things. It's SIM cards, data, voice, and text, all exposed through great APIs and priced for innovators. Last year, we announced this in preview, and now it's available for everyone. You should have received a SIM starter pack at registration. If not, come by the Programmable Wireless booth and pick one up. You've all read the reports. Billions of devices. But at Twilio, we believe that the future of billions of devices will be enabled by developers like you, shipping the next generation of devices. And over the last 8 years, Twilio has democratized communications for developers. And now our mission is to do the same for the next generation of IoT devices. By giving developers complete control over the mobile core, we will build a new community of thought-leading IoT developers. And over the last year, we've started with this journey with a few great customers. We've seen developers connect bicycles, vending machines, telematics devices, pillboxes, wearables, golf carts, and even pizza delivery. Let me introduce you to a few great companies. Lime Bike, the bike that I just rode in on, puts SIM cards in bicycles. Every bike deployed has a Twilio SIM, allowing riders to find a bike whenever or wherever they need one. Eat-a-Bit. Eat-a-Bit deploys SIM cards in restaurant kitchens. Restaurant owners put this device, this printer, without the help of an on-site expert, and orders are placed online directly with and printed inside the kitchen. iBeat. iBeat has created the Heart Hero network and a wearable device that can detect cardiac arrest. Here's a great video I want you to show you on what iBeat does.
What's critical to our culture is doing good while doing well. One of our core values is being in service to others.
There are over 400,000 sudden cardiac arrest events every year. The survival rate is only 10%, but if someone witnesses the cardiac arrest, that survival rate goes up to 40%. Our watch is that witness. The iBeat Heart Monitor is a single-purpose smartwatch that detects cardiac arrest. It also has a hardware button on it that you can trigger in the case of any emergency.
Part of our value proposition is that a user can go anywhere that they want. They can maintain their autonomy. They can get help on demand. Twilio was really critical to that.
They built a secure tunnel that lets us communicate from our watch to the cloud securely. And given that we're a life-saving device, that's really important to us.
We actually needed the ability to administrate that network with technology tools. What was really refreshing was Twilio had partnered with T-Mobile and combined their tool set, which really made our developers incredibly comfortable and helped us expedite our entire time to market.
That gives us a lot of confidence as a team, knowing that our core communication, which is the backbone of the product, is live and working.
We inherently believe that we can build a robust business that has a positive social impact. In our case, that means saving many lives.
The last three customers are all great IoT use cases, but there's an important pattern here. These developers are combining software and hardware to create a new experience. When we launched Voice and SMS, there were thousands of experts, but we knew we needed millions of developers like you to enable the future communications. We wanted to do the same for IoT, and we know we can't get to the billions of devices without empowering millions of developers like yourselves. So this year, this is why we launched Blueprints, our first effort into educating developers for IoT. We recognize the world of hardware and connectivity is very opaque. Blueprints are a step-by-step guide for building common use cases with cellular connectivity. We provide full instructions from the hardware to the user interface to accelerate your path to production. And in typical Twilio fashion, we provide great documentation on how to get started. When you do go to production, you need to build infrastructure to trust large fleets of devices, to securely connect to your cloud services. We recognize that this is a difficult problem for developers, so we set out to actually solve it. Today, we're introducing a feature called Trust on Board. This feature enables IoT developers to securely authenticate against cloud services like Amazon AWS IoT, your own servers, or even Twilio Sync. So at its core, it's actually three things: certificate provisioning, integration with your cloud providers, and on-SIM cryptography. If you're interested in learning more about programmable wireless or Trust on Board feature, we actually have 2 sessions today. Please come and check us out this afternoon. Oh, and by the way, this feature will be available this fall for every customer for free. Just like Voice and SMS, Programmable Wireless started out as a US product only. And just like Voice and SMS, we aim to constantly improve our global coverage and performance. Today, we're taking that first big leap by announcing global connectivity for our US SIMs. Those SIMs will gain connectivity and machine-to-machine SMS in 180 countries. And best of all, when you're launching your IoT product today, you'll pay the same price in 100 major markets, including the US. This is available today in preview. We believe that the device market's going to go from millions to billions, but we honestly also believe that it's going to happen because of you as a developer. This is why many of you have received a hackable badge around your necks. You're the next generation of developers enabling the next generation of devices. And we can't wait to see what you connect. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome up Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Chayton.
Thanks.
Wow, wireless is really cool. The number of things you can do with it is astounding. As Chayton said, we can't wait to see what you build next. So now we've got a really special guest with us today, and I'm excited to invite him up. You may have seen him before. He's an amazing personality in business. He's founded an amazing company. He's also done a tremendous amount of social good with the company he's building. He's not only built an amazing company, he's built the tallest building in San Francisco, and he also has the Children's Hospital of our city with his name on it based on his generosity. Please welcome up Chairman and CEO of Salesforce, Mark Benioff. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning, everybody.
There you go. They can hear you now.
Now you can hear me.
So we've got a lot to talk about, and we have nothing to talk about. We have literally no script and no agenda. We just want to talk about...
That makes it so much easier,
It
doesn't
does. It is so relaxing. There's nobody here. It's just us chatting. So first of all, I want to hear we just heard from Aaron Riley, who's the general manager at Twilio.org. You were really influential, actually. I mean, Salesforce, but you personally were really influential in Twilio making the decision to take the 1% pledge, committing 1% of our equity to be able to do the kind of things that we're now doing, including the $1 million grant that we just made to a bunch of organizations.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can you tell us quickly, how did you get the bug about social responsibility as part of building Salesforce, and how did you come to create the 1% pledge idea, which I just think is, that you creating the 1% pledge, giving it a name, and just putting a number out there, it could have been any number, right? It could have been any concept. You putting that out there actually gave me the ability to go to my board and say, look, there's this 1% pledge. It's a thing. Salesforce did it. Atlassian did it. It's a thing. We should do it, 1%. That gave me the air cover to be able to do that. How did you come up with that?
Well, I'll give you the honest answer, which is after, working at Oracle for a while, I was like, God, is this all there is? Just building this product and selling this product, and it was just not that fun.
Which we love, building product and selling product. Don't worry.
But it was really not fun, honestly. It was just kind of a burnout path. And I just felt like this cannot be the role of business, just to build and sell products. I'd look around the world, I'd be interested in a lot of other aspects of society, the environment, homeless, healthcare, kids, and I'm like, why can we not be supporting these in a more structured way? And then we had a pretty interesting conference, which was about 20 years ago now, which was the President Summit for America's Future, and Colin Powell has become a real mentor to me in this area, basically said, look, business can be a platform for change. And what you can do with your business is you can impact society, but we needed a model, a way to structure that. So when we started Salesforce, we put 1% of our equity, 1% of our profit, 1% of our time into a 501c3 public charity at the time. It was very easy because we had no equity, we had no profit, we had no product.
It's really easy to commit it, yeah.
Simple, 1, 2, 3, bam, here we go. But today we have 25,000 employees, and we'll do over 10.3 billion in revenue, and we have a significant equity in the public markets. We've been public for 12 years, and the thing that I've seen is that because we made that decision 18 years ago, we've been able to do $150 million in grants, run 30,000 nonprofits and NGOs on our service for free. And we've done several million hours of volunteerism. And it's automatic. It just happens in our culture. It's part of our company. People come to our company, and we find people to hire because they want to be part of that change. And then we're like, we have to package this up so others can do it like you. So we had dinner at my house, and we had companies there, and Atlassian and others.
Can I tell you all a story? This is amazing. Mark had this dinner at his house. It was like several years ago. Invited some CEOs of companies, and I'm really appreciative that you invited me over. I mean, it literally led us down the path that we're down. And you're at dinner, and I remember first of all, you're like texting most of, like, you like using your phone, right? Yeah, we all do. And somebody asked, like, there was this sort of like question, like, we were just kind of talking, and somebody asked, one of the founders asked, he's like, well, how do I get my board to do this? Right? And Mark, you just sort of were like, kind of looking down, and you said, I don't know, you guys are founders, just figure it out. like you figured out a lot of things to get to where you are, just figure that out too. And that actually like resonated tremendously with, like, we have this value, draw the owl. Like, it was basically just whatever, just do it. And I thought that was just brilliant. So for anyone out there, like, if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. There's ample evidence that you can build a great company by doing this.
Absolutely, and there's almost 3,000 companies, or more than 3,000 companies now who've joined Pledge 1%, and it's becoming kind of a thing, which is exciting. You know, companies like yours, Lazy and Yelp, I mean, there's a long list. And the power of that is that when we started, I really kind of felt, well, it was us and Ben and Jerry's, and that was it. And I'm like, you know, because you would look into Silicon Valley, and honestly, Silicon Valley has not been the most generous of industries. It's just not built into the culture of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley kind of has a big kind of macho attitude. Hey, we graduated from Stanford and now we're going to start our company. Or not even graduate from Stanford. We dropped out of Stanford and now we're going to start our company. And now we're going to just build this and off. And I'm like, for me, that didn't hit me in my heart. And I wanted more. And so it's a model that worked for me. It's not for everybody, because not everybody feels this way. I can just tell you that in my experience, there's people like you and me who want to do this. Some people just want to make some money and move on. Fine. I respect everybody's, you know, identity and who they are and who they want to be. But for us, we need a model to do this, and we need ways to do it, and we need best practices and inspiration, and that's why this is exciting.
So let's talk about another model. So yesterday we announced our apprenticeship program. We're really excited. We're calling it Hatch. You recently announced an apprenticeship program in Indiana, right?
Yes, we are on the apprenticeship train. So I think everybody realizes there's going to be tremendous changes in the workforce over the coming decades, especially with a lot of the technology that's emerging in artificial intelligence, machine intelligence, deep learning, and so forth. And as that happens, we're going to have to find ways to train and retrain people. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be, you know, ways that we can do that online. We have one Trailhead where we train everyone in Salesforce in a one-to-one capability. So if a developer wants to build on Salesforce, they go to trailhead.com. We create an identity, a profile for them, and then we're able to train them in a one-to-one way. But some people are going to need to be retrained in person. And our corporations, like mine and yours, we can be fabulous universities. Yeah. That is, we can bring people in and they can work side by side with us. And we've done that. We've done that with great NGOs like Europe. Both of us have used Europe to bring people in from the community, to provide apprenticeships and to kind of train them. Well, this is kind of the next level where in the core of our business that we can seek out other industries, bring apprentices in and go forward. And I even went recently to the White House, which was a big step for me, and I said, look, we have got to step this up. This is a serious situation, and I think we should have a 5 million apprenticeship dream, that we have 5 million apprenticeships here in the United States by 2020. And I think that that is actually moving forward. There's an incredible program with the Department of Labor run by an executive named John Ladd, who is running Apprenticeship Now. And I think every company really can look at this apprenticeship model, because if you're committed to society and if you're committed to making the world better, 111 is a fabulous thing to do, and the other thing is to make sure people have jobs, and also vets have jobs. This is a great model for vets. All these incredible people who have done so much for our country, this is a great way to be able to reach out to them in a structured way and train them and make sure they have employment.
Absolutely. Josh, you out there? He asked me yesterday about vets. Let's hear it for vets. I just think it's so cool. I mean, one of the reasons why we got thinking about this apprenticeship program a while back is we saw a lot of people going through boot camps, learning how to code. And I thought the amazing thing about folks who are going through boot camps is, like, I know my experience getting a computer science education in, like, university. Like, you're on this train. Like, you're in middle school and you're in high school, then you're in college, and somehow you just end up with this computer science degree and you're in the workforce, right? And it doesn't feel like a conscious decision. It's just sort of what happens when you grow up and you happen to make that decision. You liked coding and that's what you did. But folks who are going, most folks who are going through boot camp programs, they made a conscious decision as an adult. I actually want to learn a new skill. I want to do something different. And I actually want to change the trajectory of my career and what I do. And I just respect that so much. That people who actually take that initiative are then able to learn a new skill, like 12 weeks, get up to speed, and then we're excited with the apprenticeship program, then give them an opportunity, okay, start putting those skills to work, because the amount of just doerness, I guess, in that mode of building your skills and building your life, I just really respect.
Yeah, and for me, somebody like me, I loved software from the beginning. So when I was in high school...
I thought you hate software, right? No.
Well, that's another story. But when I was in high school, I started my own software company. I was 14 years old, 15 years old. I had started programming. I started releasing, commercial software when I was 15 years old. And that was just who I was. But some of these people who are out there, that was not what they wanted to do, or that's not where their families had them. Maybe they're ministers. We have this great story of a minister who's become a developer. Maybe they were a factory worker. We have great stories of factory workers who are becoming developers.
Awesome.
They're on another path because they thought that their family and what they were doing and that their lineage was to do something else. But those worlds have changed, and they know they need to kind of step into our digital world. And I think this is a great way to do it.
The other thing that's interesting is I think being a developer isn't always, it's not like necessarily an either or. You can be a minister and a developer, right? That's why we love at Signal, at this conference, we love bringing people out who are like Renaissance people who do multiple things. A few years ago, we had a magician open the show who uses Twilio and some code he wrote on Twilio to actually do his magic tricks. Last year, we had Ryan Leslie on stage, who's a rapper, a producer, a Grammy-nominated producer, and now a developer who wrote code to actually connect with his audience. And so there's people who just roll code into the things that they're doing to make whatever they're doing better. And I just love that ethos.
Yeah. Well, I think that's absolutely right, and I think that these kind of things, whether it's apprenticeship models or online models, we need a lot more of them. But for all these great CEOs who are in the audience and people who are starting companies, we want to give them that spark, that inspiration that, yes, they're going to build a great company, they're going to build great products, they're going to have all these great employees. Now what about that culture? One thing that, is amazing about Twilio is your culture. Your culture is amazing, So when I talk to my, friends who are, employees, longtime employees, at Twilio, like Trenton McManus,
Trenton.
So, this is somebody who's been there a long time. He's talked about the culture, right? And the values and what you're trying to do, not just in terms of building a great product, but that you care about others. This is something that in business school, there's not a lot of classes on culture. There's not a lot of classes on corporate social responsibility, on 111, on apprenticeship. These guys come out of Harvard or Stanford Business School, and they're like, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. We're just kind of saying, hey, there's one other idea. Business can be a great platform for change. This can be a great opportunity to impact the world, because I don't know if you've noticed, but outside these doors, things are pretty cool in here in Nirvana in this room, but outside these doors, you just have to walk down the Embarcadero here to know that, the world needs a little bit of help. It could be our K through 12 public schools. I'm a huge advocate that every CEO like me and you should, and every company should adopt K through 12 public schools.
We adopted McKinley.
Thank you for doing that. Great job and well done. It could be the environment. It could be, not we have a gorgeous bay here and ocean, but if you go out to our beaches in Ocean Beach or China Beach
or Plastic Island out there in the Pacific,
you're going to see, you can go out and see all the plastic that's out there, and you don't have to go out there to see it. You can come and see it on our beaches because it's rolling in, or you can see it coming in and slice open, some of this marine life, and you'll see it in their stomach. So that's very powerful. That we need to keep our eyes open on the environment, and it goes kind of on and on and on. There's so many great things that companies can do to create change in the world, and that's why I'm inspired by companies like Twilio and why I wanted to come to your conference, because you're such a great example, Jeff, of creating a great culture, being a great entrepreneur, creating a great company, but also thinking about others and caring about others, not just your customers, not just your employees, but your community as well. So thank you, Jeff, for doing that.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you. I want to change gears for a second because I actually want to. Let's talk about there's all these unintended consequences of just doing good, right? Like you set out to do good. You set out to pledge 1% and start acting on behalf of causes you care about. And what I found, and I think what you found, is that there's all these things you don't even know that are going to happen because of making that commitment. And one of them that I understand for you is it got you the opportunity to sponsor U2's tour, right? Because like U2 is not a band that's like, yeah, let's get some corporate sponsors up in here. Like they were like, not
mission-based, right? Mission-based.
Yeah, they're a very mission-based band, right? But it was the fact that Salesforce is also mission-based.
Jeff met Bono last week, so give a hand to Jeff. It's exciting.
Well, I just thought it was cool. Thank you, Mark, for the invitation.
Welcome.
It's the idea that like because you were doing good, that actually Bono took an interest in Salesforce, who he may not have cared at all about. Like I don't care what the tech company is doing, like whatever. But because you were doing good and you were supporting Red in particular, that got his attention, and then made them want to actually take you on as a sponsor of their tour, which ultimately led to us getting to meet Bono and The Edge last week, and Richard Branson photobombing a photo. It was bizarre. This is a weird thing. This is where that actually happened last week. You can actually Google that, Richard Branson photobomb Bono, and you'll see the picture. But I just thought like that, what a cool thing. That was a neat experience. That was fun to do. But it all came about because of the fact that you were doing good, that Bono was doing good, and then I think you invited me because you saw us as a company that's doing good. And I just like, so many good things happen when you just set out with, you don't even have a plan in place. You're just saying, if we do good, I think that'll turn out well.
It's a club of good do-gooders, huh? So, I just think that the reality is, the way it works is that if you are actually out there trying to create change, you're going to find other change makers. Mm-hmm. There are people who are committed to doing not just great things in their industry or with their product, this is what we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, but also then impacting the world in a positive way. That also then crosses industries. That's one thing that I've learned. So it's not just here in the tech industry that we're doing it, okay, but there's a lot of different industries. So when you all of a sudden cross into the music industries, there is a very small subset of artists who are also deeply committed to not just being a great artist and being the top of the billboard, but to creating change. So of course U2 is not only one of the great bands in the world for the last 30 years, or 40 years, but that they are also committed to making a difference. And so the ability to align with them seems almost like a natural step because, yes, we want to both have great products and take care of our customers and be responsive to them and deliver a great experience. We can both relate to that, but we also want to impact the world in a positive way. Now is the time for everyone to make a decision to do that. And it's easy to, it's exactly what you said. It's kind of that comment, at dinner, hey, founders, figure that out. But it's really just about make the decision now that you're going to build a company that's going to have a great culture, that's going to give back, that's going to support others, that's going to care about the world, and then everyone else will be attracted to you who's like that. It'll just happen. It'll be automatic.
Now, I want to ask you a question, right? Because it's easy for corporate leaders, especially of public companies, right, to not take a stand when certain issues arise, right? Because you don't want to piss off customers, you don't want to piss off employees, you don't want to piss off shareholders, right? Yeah. Like there's all these forces that say, just stay quiet, stay apolitical, stay out of all this stuff, right? Because bad things can happen if you state an opinion. But you've been, I think an early corporate leader saying, you know what? When we see things that are wrong in the world, we're going to say that they're wrong. And in fact, like the bathroom bill, right? You were very vocal about that being objectively wrong, and that as a company you were going to oppose.
Yes.
First of all, how did you come to that conclusion that yes, we're going to take a stand here?
Well, I think that, we've talked about culture and what kind of culture you want and behaviors associated with culture. But culture is ultimately going to be driven by your values. What is really important to you? What is really important to you in priority? What is the most important thing to you? Like at Salesforce, of course, trust is really important to us. If our customers don't trust us, they're not going to do business with us. Growth is important to us because, we're a public company. We want to continue to grow, and we're excited. We just delivered a 25% growth quarter, $10 billion in revenue. So that was exciting to us. 3, Of course, innovation is important to us. Here we are. We got to deliver a great technology. Things have changed a lot in the last 18 years since we started the company. We better be committed to innovation and the spirit of innovation. But fourth, we're deeply committed at Salesforce to equality. Equality is something that is very much in our blood. And a lot of the things that we've talked about is equality. Like education, to me, is equality. If the kids here in our public schools in San Francisco don't have a great public education, they're not going to be in our companies, and it's just not an equal system at that point. So do we have equality? And when we talk about things like gender equality, it means, are we paying women and men the same? So we're easily able to fight for gender equality and pay equality because it's about equality. So we look at every single salary in our company and say, are we paying men and women the same? And then when we acquire companies, we have to reset, all of everybody's salaries because there's this huge bias around paying women less than men. I can't tell you why that is. It just is. It's a fact. And if we don't work on it, it's going to be another 170 years before women and men are paid the same. So we'll take that on. And then 3, and you're kind of touching on it, LGBTQ equality. So, there's a lot of different people in our country, and when you head out of San Francisco, maybe not here, for sure not here, because we're the summer of love, and we're the home of gay rights here in San Francisco. But when you start to go across the country, not everybody has that same progressive view of LGBTQ equality. But I strongly believe that the only way that America will be quote unquote great, is that everyone in America is great and that everyone participates and everybody has equal opportunity and equal access and everybody has equal rights. Regardless of your gender or your race or your sexual orientation. And that is easy for us to step up and fight for. And so whether it's in North Carolina or in Georgia or Indiana, yes, we will go to those politicians or whoever that is and say, look, we're about equality. So please don't sign that law that creates inequality. Don't sign that law that creates discrimination, because we want everybody to be free and we want everybody to be treated equally, because we believe that's what's right.
I thought it was amazing. You were on, it was, CNBC, was it last year or year before, and it's like the anchor wanted to talk about, hey, let's talk about, your last quarter, and you were like, no, I want to talk about North Carolina. Right, I want to talk about how this is wrong. I just thought it was amazing to get out there and use your microphone to stand up for something that was contrary to your values and something you wanted to fight for.
It's important to me, but it's also important to our employees. It's important to our customers, to our partners. And it's important to those people in those states that we actually said something and got things moving in the right direction. That governor in North Carolina is gone. The governor in Indiana is now the vice president. It's another story. So I just think that, we have to be committed to a North Star. Administrations are going to change, but our values are not going to change. We are who we are. We know what we believe in, and we're going to fight for that. And that, we want to be crystal clear about that. It's not for everybody. It's kind of like what I said earlier. I respect everybody's desire and everybody's beliefs. I respect people to be able to make their own choices for themselves and for their companies. To me, that is equality, actually. That is, they should be able to have their own manifest destiny. So I respect that what I'm saying may not be for every entrepreneur, for every CEO, or it may be so scary for somebody to be able to get on TV or to get out there and say, you know what, if you sign that bill in Indiana, then we're going to leave the state. That was scary, because we had just paid $3 billion for the company in Indiana and became the largest tech employer in Indiana. But our values are not going to change because we bought one company. We're just going to double down on those values and say, this is who we are. But today, now we're the largest tech employer in Indiana. This last weekend, during the qualifying for the Indy 500, we opened the largest office building in Indianapolis, the tallest tower. So when you go there on your next trip, you'll see Salesforce at the top. And we've doubled down on Indiana, and we are still able to go there now years later and say we're more committed to equality in Indiana and Indianapolis than ever. And I think that as entrepreneurs, build their companies, yes, you're going to build great products. You're going to have these incredible employees. But remember, and all of us know this, that 10 years from now, all these amazing things that we just went through, the wireless bicycles and the IoT magicians and all these things that you have here, it's great. But 10 years from now, all of it's going to be obsolete. We know that, okay? But I'll tell you one thing that will be the same, your culture. Your culture is going to outlast your technology and your products and all this innovation. It's going to transcend it, because 1 decade, 2 decades, 3 decades from now, I can assure you that people will look back and go, wow, you want to know what got us through all that change? All of the difficulties that we had, it was our culture. It was our commitment to these values, and that's what did it. So make the right choices. Really figure out what is important to you. Are you able to clearly articulate what your values are, so that as those choices occur, you're able to say, yes, this is the kind of company we are, and this is who we want to be, and I am committed to that, and I'm going to make that happen. And if you make that decision today and right now, then I can assure you that decades from now, you'll be able to look back and say, wow, that culture is what let us sail through even these most difficult times.
Absolutely. And you know what I like to think about as we're building Twilio and we're building our culture is that what outlasts any individual product is your company and its culture, and what outlasts your company is the long arc of justice and equality. And so align your company to that, and I think you'll be in the right direction. And that's how I've thought about it. Everybody can think about it their way, but there is a greater meaning to what we do here, and it's great to wake up every day and to build something that's more than just a company and add a whole other layer of meaning to what we do every day. Thank you for being a role model in that.
Congratulations, Chef. You built a great company, a great culture. You're a great executive. Well done. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Mark Benioff. Wow, that was fantastic. Really appreciate Mark coming up here to talk about that. Hopefully there's all sorts of things y'all can take away as you're building your products, as you're building your companies, as you're building cultures. Thank you again to Mark. So next up, we want to check in on some of our products. I want to hear from the leaders at Twilio who are building our messaging products, our voice and video products. And so please welcome back up Pat Malatak, the Vice President and General Manager of Messaging, to check in on Twilio Messaging. Come on up, Pat.
So folks, we've heard from a bunch of different doers. We've heard about a bunch of different doers this morning. We heard about Nielsen at UNICEF. We heard about Jacinda at Doctors on Demand. And one of the cool things about all of these doers is that they have in common is how they use code to make something programmable that we previously never even thought of as programmable. It was their creative energy that drove them to rethink a problem and come up with a new and unique solution. As developers, we all know that code is a creative endeavor. Long gone is the era where productivity was measured in terms of hours worked or the number of lines written. We now measure ourselves in what we can do and what problems we can solve for our customers. Serving users is our measure of progress, not using servers. We built tools to automate most of the mundane tasks that used to be associated with code. Earliest coders started by building compilers. We built programming languages so that they didn't get away from machine code. And since then, we built tools like IDEs to stub out code for us, saving us time. We built source code management tools to help collaborate better on code and help with tasks like merging. More recently, we've built up web service abstractions for things like storage, load balancing, communications, and payments. And this is because everything that gets in the way of us building is really just a tax on our own creativity. With cloud services now, a single developer with nothing more than a text editor can command the compute power and communications infrastructure that entire nations didn't have access to even a few years ago. Nonprofits like Trek Medics, which we heard about from Aaron earlier, are doing just that, augmenting services in developing countries with just the power of code. You see, everyone's been talking about cloud computing lately. We're even hearing cloud computing pop up in horse races these days. But what folks don't immediately realize, though, is really this is just the next phase and something that's been going on for a long time. And that's the trend of increasingly empowered developers. From compilers to the cloud, the constant has been new tools empowering us all to do even more with the code that we write. These tools give us leverage. And with the cloud, we can now use that leverage to reach more people than ever before. At Twilio, we think of the challenge of creating leverage in 3 different ways. First, there's speed, both in terms of how fast can you build what you want to build, and then how fast will what you just built execute and perform. The next is scale. How well do your applications handle load? When problems happen, can you identify what went wrong? And then, most importantly, there's security. Can you issue different credentials for every environment that you're operating in? Can you verify request signatures, validate TLS certs, or use common security practices like least privilege access, service isolation? And this is why we introduced the Twilio runtime. Runtime is the developer experience you get for building on Twilio. And runtime is part of every Twilio product. It's something that we've been building out now for almost a decade. With runtime, we handle all of the things that get between you and the code that you need to write. Runtime has tools for exploring our APIs, writing TWIML. There's a debugger to help understand what went wrong in your application. We have support for something we call request replay. So when an error does occur, you can simulate that error back into your application again. We've got usage triggers to alert you when your applications cross certain thresholds. There's audit events to enable infrastructure monitoring. We have credential hosting and rotation, role-based access control, single sign-on, and a whole bunch more. But as we looked at how we could enable developers to get more leverage, we found there were a few areas we could do even more. One of those was on the speed of development that you all have. And so we asked ourselves, how could we make sure that you always had the most up-to-date Twilio environment? On application performance, we asked ourselves, how could we optimize networking between your application and Twilio's cloud? For scalability, we asked ourselves, how could we give you the benefit of our infrastructure to store assets, like WAV files for your voice calls or images for your messages? And then on the security side, we looked at all these different features and we said, how can we ensure that those are enabled by default, so that your applications run secure right out the gate? And so today, I'm excited to announce to all of you Functions. Functions is the latest addition to the Twilio runtime. And we built out Functions to solve some of our own internal challenges of building cloud-scale infrastructure. And now we're making it available to all of you as a service. Functions is part of a new class of computing, known as serverless computing. It abstracts away things like the operating system, hardware, and lets you focus exclusively on your code, the creative part of building. With Functions, you can run your code on Twilio's infrastructure. And since Functions abstracts away physical infrastructure, you can write your code once, click Save, and it can scale on demand. All right, so who all wants to see Functions in action? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and build an application with brand new Twilio Functions. The application really has 3 different parts to it. First, there's a web page that we're going to be building and rendering emojis that you're all going to text into a phone number on screen. So we'll be building this web page, and we'll be using a function to basically take a phone number and pub the emojis that you send into that phone number. We're going to pub that onto a web page. So I'm going to walk through building this with Twilio Functions. So first thing, here we are in the Twilio account console. And the first thing you'll see is we're in the runtime section. There are a couple new pages in runtime here. You'll see Functions, and then you'll see Assets. Currently, we're sitting on the Assets page. So I mentioned with Assets, you can actually upload files directly to Twilio's cloud. And we have a static HTML page that we've already uploaded to Twilio here. And this is going to be the page that we'll use to display the phone number and show you all the emojis that you're going to text in. The reason why I wanted to do emoji demo with all of you, as Jeff mentioned, I'm GM of messaging, and so emojis is a personal passion of mine, sort of comes with the territory. So let's go and explore Functions here. So the first thing you'll see in functions, you can go ahead and create additional functions, but there's actually environmental variables that come as part of the Twilio runtime as well. So what we've done here right out the gate is we actually have a sync service instance that we've already pre-provisioned. And here's the instance SID on that sync service instance. So we've created this as an environmental variable inside the Twilio runtime, and we can actually reference that SID from within our functions. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create, as I mentioned, we're going to have a page that's connected to Twilio Sync. And so we need to create a token generation endpoint such that when the page loads, it can go actually authorize with the Twilio Sync service. So let's go in here. And the first thing you'll see here in functions is there's actually predefined templates for building Twilio application logic. And so we're going to go grab this sync access token and go ahead and press create. And you'll see the sync access token actually comes with everything you need to generate access tokens for a sync service. And you'll see that's actually already referencing our account context and the service SID here. So first thing I will do is just give it a path token. I'll go ahead and press save. Copy this into the browser. And you'll see that a token gets generated. So when that index.html page loads, there's JavaScript there that's going to go ahead and hit this token endpoint. So let's go back now to the assets and just load that page and then make sure that it loaded. We already pre-provisioned it with a couple emojis. So there we go. A few emojis fall down. Now, this phone number won't work because we've not wired it up to a function yet to do anything interesting. All it is wired up to that sync service. So let's go back to functions and create our next function here. So let's create a blank function. This is going to be the emoji function. Path is SMS, since it's going to handle your SMSs. And then let's go ahead and create a REST client here. Equals context dot get Twilio client. So as you can see with functions, Twilio's already included the REST helper library inside the functions themselves. So there's no need to npm install Twilio. You can just go ahead and just start typing code right out of the gate. So next thing we want to do here is we want to go sync equals that client dot sync. And we will say services. And we will go ahead and pass in context dot service SID. Great. Cool. So now what we want to do here is we want to go ahead and add, as an inbound text message comes in, we want to take the text body. Let's zoom in here. So as we come in now, as an inbound text message comes in, we want to grab that body, and we're going to go ahead and add it to a sync list. So let's come in here. We are going to go and access this sync service. Sync.sync lists. We're going to go ahead to the emojis list, and then we're going to go ahead and add sync list items. And this is going to be a create. Great. And then what we need to do is there is a data object here, and so we need to take that emoji that just got texted in, and we are going to go ahead and event.body. So as you can see in the function, there's an event context, and if you grab that event object, everything that's been posted into that function is available for you to access. So in this case, we're just going to go grab the body of the SMS message that was sent in. So there's one more thing I need to do here. Since that's going to go off and make an asynchronous request to the Twilio sync service, we need to go ahead and make sure that we call this back. So function, and let's go add this in. And then let's grab this callback. So what the callback does is basically just sends control back to Twilio after it finishes running this function. So new twilio.twiml.messaging response, and away we go. You can delete the rest of this, so there's nothing else there. And you can actually see there's on the page here, we'll do syntax highlighting for you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. That's going to go ahead and deploy this function out to Twilio's cloud. So one more thing before we wire this up to the phone number, let's just test that this works. We're going to go in here to SMS, and then I'm actually going to pass in body with my favorite emoji, which is the chick emoji, and we see the chick emoji fall down. Cool. All right, so one last step here is now that we've written this function and it's available, we need to go take this function, we need to wire it up to that phone number that I just showed. So if everybody could take out their phones, I'm going to jump over to the phone numbers page and wire this up, and then I need all of you to text in your favorite emojis so we can see what the favorite emojis are of the Twilio community. So let's go into this phone number here. And when a message comes in, execute the emoji function. Save. That should now be wired up. And here they come. So text in your emojis. Oh no, what happened here? Oh no. Text in the emojis. Oh! Let's try it one more time. Text in your, you did it with too many emojis. All right, so that's Twilio functions. You can see how that works, text in emojis, but you can write functions now directly inside Twilio.com. So Twilio is a company by developers for developers, and every day we strive to eliminate the distractions that stand in the way of you and your code. And functions is really the next evolution in that journey. When we look at the Twilio stack that we showed you yesterday, see functions really is part of every Twilio product. And this really completes the picture for developers. You now have a first-class programming environment, and now with functions, you get an execution environment as well for your Twilio applications. Really excited about functions, and we can't wait to see what you build. Next up, I'd like to welcome up Oit, who's going to talk to us about what we've been doing in the world of voice and video.
Thank you, Patrick. Really excited about the functions. This will make development on Easio so much better for everybody. Yesterday, I talked about Engagement Cloud and how TaskRouter can help you to build API-first contact center implementations. Today, let's focus on programmable voice and programmable video, and let's see what happens in a programmable communications cloud itself. Historically, voice applications were hard to build. It was the land where software developers didn't have anything to say. It was a land of hardware and specialized boxes. That's why Twilio was created in 2008 with programmable voice as a first product. We thought we can do better than hardware. Twilio eliminated complexity, upfront costs, and demystified the world of global communications. It opened up voice for developers, putting you in control. So our goal has always been to give you ability to make and control calls from your code so that you can access the black box of global communications for a single, easy-to-use API. So what does it mean to have a best-in-class, software-based voice stack? First, you need a modern and fully flexible call control plane. You need to be able to not just only connect calls, but also manage individual call legs, add and remove participants from conferences, mute and unmute, and you need to be able to route calls on a global basis, ensuring local, great calling experience. And for contact centers, you need to have specialized controls like barge in, whisper, and monitor. And that we delivered to you just a few days ago with the launch of Agent Conference. Secondly, you need to have ability to have a full control over media. You need to be able to play arbitrary media, convert text-to-speech in a variety of languages, record calls either from as a whole or using single tracks. You need to be able to detect answering machines. You need to be able to gather input as a DTMF or now with speech recognition that Jeff just launched 24 hours ago. So putting this all together, taking the fully flexible call control plane and powerful media engine, and now when we add connectivity to phones, WebRTC endpoints, mobile applications, and also your SIP infrastructure, it really unlocks the full power for you to control and build great customer experiences. We have spent 9 years and hundreds of engineers have perfected this so that you can focus on building your application. So now, what wasn't possible in the era of hardware is possible with the power of software. But the world of communication keeps evolving. 6 years ago, in May, Google released WebRTC, an open source real-time communications platform for browsers. It gave browsers ability to make audio and video calls, basically democratizing access to the media capabilities. The ecosystem around WebRTC is evolving, and the WebRTC is becoming more and more embraced. You can now build browser-based calling experiences quite easily. However, if you want to take this to production, there are a few things that you still need to take care of. Or if you want to build a cross-platform application, the same thing applies. So this list is actually a pretty cool challenge list for developers. None of that is like very hard to do. You need to like do a few deployments here, a few systems here, but like when you do that, then there are situations like this, trying to figure out why did your production application break? You need to investigate and then discover that Chrome dropped a new version and your app is broken. Or trying to understand why your application works with one browser and suddenly not with another one. Or deciding if you built a cross-platform application, you need to decide every 6 weeks, should I incorporate a new drop of WebRTC or not? It all adds up. It takes time away, like time spent on testing and maintenance and upgrades and backporting is all time not spent on developing your application. So we thought, and we asked ourselves, and you should know the question by now, why isn't that an API? And Programmable Voice was born. We called it the Rooms API. Peer-to-peer rooms gives you easy one-to-one calling and simple conferencing. And just last week, we released Group Rooms, which enables large conferences and also enables recordings, like either full calls or single tracks. And all of those APIs are supported by simple, rigorously tested, and up-to-date SDKs. We drop a new release of SDKs roughly every week. We constantly test our SDKs against all browser versions and also development branches of browsers, making sure that when they become GA, that your application that we built on us don't break. We do this work for you. So these are the basic building blocks of Programmable Voice and Programmable Video. Also nice capabilities, but one thing when we talk to customers and when we talk to you, one thing we learned what you care the most about, we haven't spoken about yet. What's really on top of your minds is quality. And when we drill down what do we mean by quality, there are two separate threads, two separate topics. One is reliability of the platform for the dial tone being there and performing. And second one is audio quality, audio fidelity. So first thing to understand about calls is that calls are different than messages, obviously, but they have different characteristics when you develop applications. When your message arrives 1 second late, you probably will be fine. But when your voice packet or audio stream arrives 1 second late, it breaks the application completely. Human ear can tolerate like up to 400 milliseconds of latency. After that, the call usually becomes unusable. So in a typical call scenario, user calling a contact center agent, a live call passes through a number of systems and networks. And if there's a loss in any of those, or disruptions in any of those legs, the end-to-end experience suffers. So that's why last fall we gave you voice insights, allowing you to get insights into the VoIP calls and troubleshoot changing network and device problems. And that was fantastic for your support teams who are now using it to troubleshoot network conditions, figure out what's wrong, if the microphone is connected correctly or not. Like, Voice Insights brought down the average time to troubleshoot a voice issue from like days to a matter of minutes. Like, this changed everything for the VoIP part of it. But this is the second part. What happens to the carrier side? That's only half of the story. You still did not have visibility into the carrier performance. And speaking of carriers, there's the carrier industry has a certain bar for infrastructure quality there. Like, many people call it like carrier grade. And we've spent years and years with hundreds of carriers who were interconnected, figuring out how to do that. And we've seen thing or two. Let me put it this way. Like, stuff happens in the carrier world. Like, we deal with this every day. So we knew that the standard carrier grade was not going to be good enough. So we did what we always do. We turned to the power of software. And that's why we created the super network that we have spoken about and turned to instrumentation, focusing on data. Let me give you a few examples. Twilio's super network probes the quality of the global carriers, measuring them one by one and assessing their performance. We carry around roughly like tens of thousands of end-to-end tests using a large number of handsets in a large number of countries, constantly monitoring the state of the carrier network. And we use those results in an intelligent routing engine to make sure we deliver the best quality possible. Another number, capture over 1 billion data points a day of our instrumentation for every call that passes through Twilio. We've instrumented carrier networks that have never been done before. And this week, we're giving this access to you. We're opening up the hood and giving you the access through Voice Insights for carrier connectivity. Voice Insights gives you X-ray vision, if you say, like into every carrier call, like real-time metrics like jitter and packet loss and audio input and output volumes, and including information like how long did it take the call to connect, who was the carrier, why the call was disconnected, who hung up. Now you can detect system-wide issues, what's happening with a specific carrier in the world, or detect if the cable is cut somewhere in Taiwan, for example. This gives you transparency into what's happening with every call, so when your customers reach out, you're equipped with answers and information. We believe this is a giant step forward into transparency and visibility. It's a game changer for the world of carrier connectivity, and it's available today for all of you. You can go to the console and enable this with one flip of a switch. Thank you. And that's all for voice and video. Please welcome back Patrick Matak to talk to you about what's happening in the messaging world. Patrick.
Thanks. So there's a lot going on in the world of voice. Next, we're going to spend a few minutes talking through what's happening in messaging. We're going to start with our super network. We measure our super network in terms of reach, connections, and depth of routing options available. This past year, we made a ton of progress on all of these different vectors. On the connection side, we added almost 3 times as many connections in just the last 12 months. For you, those additional connections mean that you now have more redundancy and higher quality. And I'm happy to report that we now have an average route depth anywhere in the world of over 6 different unique connections, meaning that Twilio can ensure that your messages get through even in the event of multiple carrier failures. In fact, last year alone, our automated, intelligent routing system made over 1 million different route optimizations so that your messages never miss a beat. Twilio's super network has always enabled you to send to any country in the world, over 192 nations. Increasingly, though, you've asked us to better tailor those messaging experiences to customers in every locale. In 2015, we rolled out support for Alpha Sender ID to solve just this problem. Outside the US and Canada, Alpha Sender ID means that you can send to your customers from your brand, rather than the use of a shortcode. And this year, we've extended our connectivity and brought on board a number of new regions where sender names are available to you via pre-registered applications that we've worked with all of those local operators. Due to that hard work, I'm now happy to announce to all of you that we now support a local messaging experience in over 168 different countries. That means your messaging apps can send now to over 5 billion people on the planet, making Twilio SMS the most ubiquitous messaging platform around. But giving your applications a local experience isn't just about same-country support. When I talk to customers, I routinely hear the same thing. How can I bring my existing numbers to the Twilio platform? And so we asked ourselves at Twilio, anybody guess what we asked ourselves? Why isn't there an API for that? And so we made one, the porting API. Last fall, we introduced the porting API to make it easier to bring your numbers to the Twilio cloud. But some of you wanted even more flexibility. The flexibility to add SMS to your existing phone numbers without even porting it into Twilio. And so we're excited to announce to all of you today, Hosted SMS. It's available in preview today. With Hosted SMS, you can take any existing landline number in the United States or Canada, and you can add messaging as a channel on that number. And you might have guessed it by this point, but we also made an API for Hosted SMS as well. So that's what we've been up to on the Super Network side. But how have we been investing in our Programmable Communications Cloud? Well, the Programmable Communications Cloud really has two different parts to it. First, there's the core set of communication APIs, giving you programmatic access to the primitives of human communication. And then there's a set of intelligent services that sit above these communication APIs. We just heard about the intelligent services in our voice stack. In messaging, the core SMS API has access to send anywhere, send and receive many different regions around the globe. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. Just a to, a from, and a body. Billions and billions and billions of times over. With Twilio, sending that first message has never been easier. But as we've observed, while sending billions and billions of messages a month, sending at scale can be quite a bit harder. You see, underneath the covers, global messaging is actually quite complex. For example, maybe your application has hit a ton of scale in the US, and the 1 message per second per phone number imposed by operators in the United States causes your queues to back up. Or maybe your application got quite popular in India, where there are restrictions on the time of day you can send messages out in certain regions. These are just a couple of the delivery problems you may run into. Other times, there's problems with content. Like I bet you didn't know, but Unicode characters will change your message length. Or how about in China, where content sometimes needs to be pre-approved with templates. And trying to get a job done without the right tools is a pain. Just have a look at this guy. Somehow I don't think this is going to end well. So you shouldn't be trying to tackle these large problems with primitive tools. And at Twilio, we've been dealing with these problems in global messaging for almost a decade. And to tackle some of the unique challenges, we've built this layer of intelligent services that sits right above that core communications API. These are software-defined, configurable services that assist you in building your global scale messaging applications. The first of which is Delivery Copilot. Delivery Copilot has all the features you need to enable great messaging customer experiences. There's Scaler, which distributes your messages across multiple different phone numbers and shortcodes, ensuring that your messages never get backed up. There's Sticky Sender, which ensures that your messages always come from the same phone number, ensuring a consistent user experience. Recently, we enhanced Reroute, which can now detect non-delivery on a shortcode and actually fail over to a long code. There's GeoMatch, which automates the process of sending from a local country. It's now been enhanced even recently with support for sending from a local area code, so you don't need to create that as application logic. Next is the Content Copilot. This helps adapt your content for any environment. We have MMS Converter if you're sending an MMS to a phone that only supports SMS. We have Smart Encoding, which analyzes the characters in every message, ensures you have the right encoding for each message. We have support for link shortening, and recently we introduced spam filtering. which prevents your applications from generating malicious traffic, as well as blocking common attack vectors, like phishing. We also offer a privacy and compliance copilot. These services help keep your app compliant with the various different telcos and local governments around the world. We have support for automated opt-out processing and support for common keywords like help and stop. And we support templates in certain regions, as well as adapt the product to ensure that you can meet your compliance regulations. We recently introduced phone number and message body redaction to solve that problem. Finally, there's Insights. Insights gives you visibility into your application performance around the world. With Insights, we've taken all those different data points that we measure about our super network, and we've made them available to you as a service. We give you access to every single state transition a message flows through with lifecycle events. We can show you how messages are queuing with Queue Insights. And we even have a means seeing your application performance via our Feedback API and Feedback Insights. Now, one Twilio customer that knows a thing or two about scale is a company you may have heard of called Netflix. So I'm pumped to welcome up George Abraham, lead messaging engineer at Netflix. Welcome, George.
Thanks for having me.
So George, tell folks here, what are you doing with Twilio SMS, and how's that integrated in the Netflix experience?
So our main use case is account recovery. So the standard password reset flow, we send a code to customer, if they enter the valid code, they're dropped into the password reset flow. So that's our main use case.
Gotcha. And so, Netflix knows a thing or two about scale, as I was saying earlier. Yep. Now, you had a big launch back in January,
yes.
Right? Netflix turned on international support all over the globe. Tell us a little bit about what that was like, how many different regions you're operating in.
Yeah. So we currently operate in over 190 countries. So that's basically everywhere in the world except China and some countries that we can operate, like North Korea. We send hundreds of millions of messages every day, and so to grow the platform to the current stage was a challenge, but we're now at the stage where we can scale even further.
So tell us a little bit. So how many subscribers are on Netflix now? What is sort of the volume from the user base standpoint?
So when I joined Netflix about 6 years ago, we were at about 20 million customers. Now we've crossed the 100 million customer mark. So you can imagine even just a fraction of them using like a password reset flow would generate millions of messages.
Cool. So you guys decided to build on Copilot. Mm-hmm. Maybe you talk a little bit about which of the Copilot features you're using and how you're using them at Netflix.
Yeah, so when we were building this out, we looked at, first we just started out with a proof of concept. We had a couple of US numbers, but pretty soon it became apparent that we would need local numbers in the markets that we were in. And we didn't want to build all the logic of mapping the to and from numbers and using shortcodes or sender IDs and all those kinds of things. So with Copilot, we were able to just sort of buy a bunch of numbers, configure Copilot that way, add the shortcodes, and Twilio took care of all the routing, so we didn't have to do anything about it.
Great, so using GMatch. And then when Twilio gets new phone numbers, we can just add that in. You don't need to update a single line of code.
Absolutely, there's no code change required.
Okay, great. So there's one more question I need to ask you, and I think probably others here are wondering. So do devs at Netflix get early access to content? And if so, any spoilers about House of Cards next week?
So I can't give out any spoilers. This is like a common question that we get, but I'll borrow sort of the non-answer that President Underwood gives, and I say, you might want to know that, but I can't quite possibly comment on that.
Okay, well, thanks for building on Twilio, and thanks for talking with us
today. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So you just saw how Twilio makes building applications for a global audience really, really easy with the most ubiquitous channel, SMS. But what if you want to add messaging inside your application or service? It should be just as easy to add messaging into your application as it is to add SMS. And so we asked ourselves, why isn't that an API? And so we made one. We called it Programmable Chat. Chat is the best way to embed messaging into your applications. Chat gives you a rich messaging SDK and lets you focus on the rest of your application. With support for iOS, Android, and the browser, Chat works on any platform that you need it to. And Chat was built mobile first from the ground up. So we've done all the hard work of tuning sockets and bytes over the wire so that you don't have to. But chat isn't just about pushing a string over a socket. The reality is that the presence of consumer offerings like Messenger and iMessage have set very different expectations for your customers when it comes to their chat experience. And so we made chat multi-party from the start as a flexible permissionings model, integrates with push notifications through Notify, and there's support for typing indicators, read notifications, and progress markers, so you know where everyone is in a conversation. And because it's mobile first, there's support for offline and cloud-based sync. There's even a bot SDK for chat as well. One other thing I forgot to mention about chat is that it scales for the largest workloads. Even though the product is only a year and a half old, it's already doing well over 1 billion in annual API interactions. And we can support 1,000 times as many interactions going forward. And so a few of the customers that are already building on chat are some of the logos up here. And you'll see that there's a bunch of different use cases that these customers are building. They're building collaborative experiences like Varsity Tutors, improving student and teacher interactions. They're building contact centers like ING. They're even building team-based interaction tools like When I Work. One of the companies, though, that's building on programmable chat is Vivo. If you've ever watched the music video online, you've interacted with Vivo. And they had a use case that didn't quite fall into the other categories, the party. Vivo wanted to make watching music videos online an engaging user experience, one that you could do with your friends. And so Vivo launched something recently called the Watch Party. Let's have a look.
And her heart's a constantly. She's a force of love to me. She's a force of love.
Cool. So I'm really excited to welcome up here Dugan Knoll, lead engineer for Vivo Watch Party. So Dugan, we just saw the video, but tell us just a little bit about what Watch Party is all about.
Right, so at Vivo, we're interested in building unique experiences for artists and their audiences. So with Watch Party, users can share a link to their Watch Party, and everybody can come and vote on the videos they want to watch while chatting about them.
Cool, and how did you come up with the idea for Watch Party? Where did this come from? You know, what was that like?
Well, we just wanted to build something that's really unique and engaging, and so chat was a great opportunity for us because it makes it feel very live and makes it feel like a party.
Cool, and what's been the feedback from customers? So you rolled this out about a month ago or so?
We rolled it out about a month ago. We're still growing it, which is really exciting. We have a really nice long tail where people are really engaging and watching a lot of videos together. And so we're really excited. We need to cover more platforms and continue to basically let people know about it.
Yeah, so when you see folks engage with Watch Party, what happens? You see more repeat, longer time on the site? What's the engagement metrics look like?
Right, so we're seeing a lot of messages. We're seeing, in some cases, we've had artists tweet for new releases, like we've had Tinashe and Lumineers tweet out links with for a new release video, and they're there actually video jockeying their favorite videos from artists that they performed with, and they're talking to the fans directly, and it's amazing. There's really good engagement on those pages.
Cool. So let's tell us a little bit about how you built on Twilio. What was the building process look like? Walk us through it.
Right, so it was very easy to use out of the box. We could get our chat up and running really quickly, which was awesome for us because we wanted to iterate on this quickly and experiment with the product.
Cool. And what platforms are you targeting? You mentioned, I think, web first. Is that where you started?
Right. So we've worked on TV. So the idea being that you could have a party maybe at your house, and people can be voting on the videos that they want to watch at the party. And then we've also built it for web. We're working on mobile platforms right now, and really looking to cover all of our bases there.
Cool. So really slick UI. What was that like? How did you build the UI? Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. So we had a design team. They came up with all the mocks. We mocked out for emojis. We have emoji support that was extendable via Twilio chat.
Fantastic. I love emoji.
Yep, emojis, GIFs. We have @mention support. But yeah, they came up with all these mocks and said how they wanted it to work. So.
Cool. So what's next for Watch Party?
Well, as I was saying, we need to grow the platform. We need more people to start using it and more artists. And we have the ability to do that at Vivo. We have the ability to, to really build for our audiences. So
cool. Well, thanks for talking to us about Watch Party. Exciting.
Yep. Thank you.
So we just saw that Vivo experience. They built a sharp UI and used best practices in user experience design. And Dugan had a design team that really helped make that whole thing happen. But what about the rest of us? Not everybody's got a team of designers like Dugan, but they still want to complement their application experience with chat. At Twilio, Jeff mentioned earlier, we believe in helping our customers get to production scale faster. And building user experiences was one of your biggest challenges. And so we asked ourselves, why isn't that an API? And so I'm excited to announce to all of you today, Frame, solving the problem of building communication experiences without all the UI work. Frame is a set of Twilio user interface controls which you can add directly into your existing applications. Frame is the scaffolding that you need to design great user experiences. It comes complete with common patterns in user experience design, but also the flexibility to let you bring your app to life. And for those of you that have already built on Twilio's programmable chat, Frame will plug directly in. Frame's configurable as well, because we know that you want choice. Now, with just a few lines of CSS, you can get the layout that you want and the customer experience that your customers deserve. We built Frame from the ground up. We built it in component pieces to give you control. Colors, logos, fonts, widths, profile pictures, avatars, all of it is configurable. You can even control the way that you render the entry point or the initial display text to get the chat experience started. Frame can complement your existing applications as well. For anything you've already built, they can be adapted for custom agent UI. And the best part about Frame is that it will work cross-platform with support for every device type, iOS, Android, and even the web. Making the experience of building UI on chat just as easy as building on any of our other Twilio SDKs. With Frame, you can now put our design team to work for all of you. So when will you be able to get your hands on Frame? We'll be making Frame available to all of you in just a few short months, summer 2017. There's one more thing I forgot to mention about Frame, and that's that we'll be bringing Frame to voice and to video in the latter part of this year. Frame is something we're bringing to every Twilio SDK. So no matter what the product or the platform you're targeting, you can have a slick user experience without all the hard work. You can get the flexibility of the Twilio platform with the speed and the experience your customers want. There's one last stat I want to share with all of you today. Back in April at F8, David Marcus, head of Messenger platform, announced a new milestone of developers building on the Messenger platform, over 100,000 apps. Well, today, I want to share with all of you that same number on Twilio's platform. It's now over 1 million applications that have been built today on Twilio messaging. It's over 1 million discrete experiences that all of you have created, covering almost every use case imaginable. And that's because with Twilio, you can build for the most ubiquitous channel on the planet, SMS. You can also build for every other channel, as we saw yesterday with Notify. And then with programmable chat, you can bake messaging directly into your applications. So whatever the messaging experience is that you want for your customers, you can make it happen with Twilio's messaging platform. So, this was a massive day today. .org announced $1 million in grants. Wireless talked about trust on board. We heard about global data. We saw functions, assets, agent conference, voice insights, and much, much more. But before I head out of here, I want to turn it back over to Jeff, who's got one more thing before we wrap up.
Hey, Pat, hold on a second. Come back up here. So there's a small bug in the demo you did earlier?
Yeah.
So we've actually got it fixed. The physics of watching emoji fall from the sky, and we're doing this. We're going back. We're going back. That's one of the dangers of live coding, right? There you go. Now texting. Get out your phones. Text your favorite emojis in. It actually has all the old ones that you texted before. Yeah. Now keep sending them in.
The sync list will store the state.
It's kind of way too entertaining to have not seen this, because there's a lot
no.
Do you want to know what the bug was?
What was the bug?
So I mean, this is like live demo code. There's some emoji someone texted in which is like crashing it. I don't know. You got some crazy emoji you found that is live coding demo, not appropriate. Anyway, thank you for everybody doing it. Thank you, Pat. Let's hear it for Pat. All right, so we've got one more doer that we want to meet today. This doer has a number in his head, 100,000. That is the number of young developers that this doer wants to teach how to code, right? So he's done a number of things. He has actually written a book specifically teaching kids how to code in Swift. He's published hundreds of YouTube videos to teach kids how to learn to code, inspiring developers, young developers, to build all sorts of cool things, from flying a drone by text message to an AI-powered question and answer bot. And he's done all of this before graduating middle school. Our next doer started programming at age 5, which wasn't that long ago. He published his first book on programming at age 9. And now, at age 13, he's well on his way to inspiring 100,000 young kids to learn how to become developers. Let's welcome him on stage. He's going to give us a demo of one of the things he's built. But please welcome up our last doer of 2017, Tanmay Bakshi. Tanmay! First of all, Tanmay, here's your doer banner.
Oh, thank you.
Get that. That's for you.
Wow, this is nice.
You can just throw that somewhere.
Oh.
So,
I'm just going to put that there.
I'll roll it back up for you. It's all right. So first of all, you've got a really amazing list of accomplishments for someone who's just 13 years old, let alone like for an adult. That would be a huge number of accomplishments. So like, how did you learn to start programming when you were, said, 5?
Yes, I actually started programming when I was 5 with very simple languages like FoxPro and batch programming. I eventually started working with technologies like VB with the help of my dad, starting off with these sorts of simple languages. But of course, I had my first iOS app accepted into the App Store. But eventually what happened is around when I was 11, I started to lose, my confidence or my interest in technology a little bit. And it's because I realized that computers are so hard-coded. They're not flexible. They're so literal. The moment you program something in, it immediately starts becoming obsolete. You have to start reprogramming it. And so what happened, though, is just when I was about to turn 12, when I was 11, though, I stumbled upon...
Way back when?
I actually stumbled upon a cognitive computing platform called IBM Watson. And of course, this is the supercomputer that played and won Jeopardy in 2011. And from there on out, I've been, hooked to cognitive computing and artificial intelligence, the technologies it has. And of course, now I'm also using my own custom implementations of deep learning technologies. And of course, through very powerful interfaces like Twilio.
Very cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and how did you, first of all, were you even allowed to sign up for Twilio? I don't even know, but how did you discover Twilio? Let's have our lawyers look into that. But how did you discover Twilio?
Well, that's actually a very interesting story as well. And so, of course, as you know, I work with Watson, and Watson Conversation Service specifically is one that I had been very interested in at the time. And this was actually around a year ago when I created my first Twilio application. The way I found out about Twilio is, I was building this Watson Conversation application, and I discovered that the application I created in order to create this interface for conversation was not user-friendly. It wasn't, this easy-to-use, anywhere accessible sort of, cross-platform thing that you could just run on a computer and have it, go. It's something that you'd have to install. It's just not good for the user. It's not easy for me to create. It's just generally not a good solution. And so I did some searching, and I found Twilio, the Twilio platform. And I discovered that Twilio would be the perfect match for this application. Because imagine if you could have a chatbot that you can access via SMS, and that SMS is powered by Twilio. And you can actually pilot a drone using that chatbot.
We need you to say Twilio a few more times, otherwise they won't graduate you from middle school. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. And so then then the chatbot can go ahead and pilot a drone for you. In this case, a Parrot AR drone 2.0.
Awesome. So we have that drone here today.
Exactly.
Can you show us?
Definitely, I'd
Show
be
us
glad
the
to.
Twilio-powered drone
cannot wait to
that you
show you
built
what this-
with Watson.
I cannot wait to share with you this.
Let's do it.
So let's try.
You ready?
Definitely.
Got to switch.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Tommy. There
All
we are.
right. Let's do that signal. I'll
We
get
just told
my
everyone our
phone out.
password. All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn this on here. All right, as you can see here, I've got my phone and I've got a few terminal windows open. Now, before I actually explain how exactly this entire system works, in essence, I've got a Raspberry Pi on this podium as well. This Raspberry Pi is hosting 2 separate Node.js servers that will allow me to orchestrate this entire application. And so in theory, what should happen is via ngrok, Twilio should be able to send the first Node.js script a message. And then I'll tell you the rest in just a minute. But for now, I'd like to show you a demo and tell you how the drone works. But while I do this demo, I'm going to be concentrating a little bit more on how the drone is flying because we don't want it to go astray. And so I won't be talking during the demo, but what I will do during the demo is I will take off the drone, make it go up, check the altitude, make it go down, check the altitude again, and then of course land the drone. Let's try this out and see if it works. Thank you. All right, so again, this is powered by IBM Watson, and so in theory, I should be able to phrase this takeoff command however I want to, and it should actually understand what I mean. In this case, let's just try a classic takeoff command, take off. Now, as you can see, it gets all these sorts of actions here, and the drone takes off. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now what I can do is actually tell the drone to move up. And let's just say we want this to go at a speed of 3. Okay, so it starts moving up. And then, right as I want it to stop moving up and I just want it to hover, I can tell it to stop. And right as it receives that action, which sometimes takes a little bit of time because there are lots of people using network here, and sometimes takes a moment for it to actually get the... We're going to have to restart the second script here and tell it to stop again. Okay. So as you can see, it should just paste this in again. Receipt, there we go. And there we go. Now it's not going up anymore. And now we can actually check the altitude of this drone by running an altitude command. Okay, and then I check the altitude, and I'm now going to land the drone. And it should receive that land command, and it decides to land. Thank you. Thank you. Now,
oh my God. Oh, there's more.
Thank you. But just before we actually continue, though, I'd like to tell you a little bit more of what's actually going on behind the scenes. So as you can see on screen right now, I've actually got 2 separate terminal windows open. And those terminal windows are running 2 separate Node.js scripts on a Raspberry Pi. The first one is responsible for all communications with a drone, and the second one is responsible for all communications with Twilio and the Watson conversation service. So what happens is when I send an SMS to a Twilio number, that Twilio number will then send an HTTP GET request to an Express.js server hosted on port 2000 on this Raspberry Pi. And the best part is, actually, this is using a secure tunnel to my local host environment hosted by NGROK. And actually, the really fun part is that Alan Shreve, the creator of NGROK, is also a speaker at Signal. And so I hope you're in the audience today. Thank you for making NGROK. What happens next is once the script receives that message, it then sends that message over to Watson Conversation along with some information about the drone itself. It gathers this information from the first Node.js script, which is running another server on port 5000, which will take a JSON data stream from this drone and output it. It sends all of that information to Conversation, and Conversation will return many responses, some containing the intents and entities of the message and the actual response for this message. The response is sent back to Twilio, and Twilio will, of course, send me an SMS back, and then what happens is the intents and entities go through some more processing, and then are sent to the 5500 port on the first Node.js script. And then finally, this Node.js script should actually receive that command and then tell the drone to execute that command via the Node AR Drone SDK by Felix. And so that's how the entire system works. It's quite interesting how everything is able to tie in together. And that was what I had to share with you in terms of the demo. I hope we can actually do one more demo and see if it's able to actually rotate the drone this time. Might be stable. Let's try it out and see if it works.
It might be stable.
Yeah, who knows?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's try it out. Who knows, it might want to be a bit more cooperative this time. I can actually just move it probably to the center of the stage again, and then start that script. Let's try this out and see if it works. Just let that start listening on port 2000, and there we go, we can begin. So I'm going to start off with, of course, takeoff, and then we'll try rotating clockwise and then landing the drone. Okay, so this script does not, again, let's just see what's wrong here. Okay, let's see if this works now. We'll do this one last time, and hopefully it works. So again, and NGRK received it, so did the Node.js script, and the first one as well. All right, the drone is slightly cooperative. So we can rotate clockwise now. Say we want to do this at a speed of 4.
Ooh.
Oh, quite
nice.
Thank you. And then I tell it to stop movement, which is still currently cooperative, and then I can tell it to land, and there we go. It should land like that.
Yay! Awesome, Tommy.
Thank you.
Wow, really cool. You landed your demo, you landed your drone. I think this is completely true. You are the youngest developer we've ever had on the stage here at Signal. Do we have something for Tom May? There we go. For building an app on Twilio that is awesome. Take off your jacket. We wanted to give you a Twilio track jacket.
Thank you.
Give us an arm.
I'm just going to put this one.
Give me an arm.
Thank you.
This your other arm. Let's hear it for Todd May.
Thank you.
Dude,
thank you.
That is awesome. He is amazing. And go see his talk this afternoon on AI and building artificial brains.
Yes.
He's doing a breakout. And he has business cards that say keynote speaker on them. And he is amazing. He should have interviewed Benioff.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. Let's hear it again for Todd May.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
All right. I want to take a quick minute here, and I want to thank some of the sponsors that we've had for Signal this year who've really helped us put on an amazing show. Amazon Web Services, IBM, and a bunch of other folks who have got great products for developers and have really helped us put on an amazing conference. Now, I've got an exciting piece of news for all of you. Signal 2018. We have a date for you, and we're moving it to the fall, October 17th and 18th, 2018. And you can register on site today over in that other building for just $175. We gave you a screaming deal for planning 16 months ahead of time. But if you had a great time for the last 2 days, we really hope you'll join us next year at Signal again. Now, there's a couple more thank yous I want to give. First of all, to all of the Twilions who helped put on the show and show you a good time. So much work goes on to this event. Let's hear it for all of the Twilions who make this all possible. I also want to thank all of our guests, all of the breakout speakers, all the speakers we had on stage with us here. We appreciate the time they took to talk to all you. Let's hear it for the Johns Brothers Piano Company. And a special shout out to all the crew backstage who makes everything up here look so good. A lot of people are back there making this happen. Let's hear it for the crew. And tonight, we will see you at Bash 6:30, right back here for a lot of fun. One of the prizes is going to be 20 fax machines signed by me. We'll see you tonight, 6:30. Have fun today.